Okay, good morning, students. In our previous class of network security, we have seen the concept of security attacks and cryptographic attacks. So, security attacks, we have seen four different types, that is, interruption, interception, modification, and fabrication. And s- cryptographic attacks, we have seen two different types: passive attacks and active attacks. In passive attacks, generally, what will happen? Neither the sender nor the receiver is aware that an attack has been occurred. But in case of active attack, yes, any of these two parties will come to know that an attack has been occurred. Because of that reason, only we are calling these type of attacks as active attacks. Okay, so in today's class, quickly we'll be discussing about the security services. So generally, whatever security mechanism we will implement, whatever security model we construct, what type of services you are expecting from it. Okay, how they have recorded under the standards, how they have, what we call documented under our standards, that we have to analyze and that we have to see in today's class. Basically, whenever we do something new, or whenever we construct a building, let us assume that we are constructing a building. So what output you are expecting when you are constructing a building? You're about to live in that building. So how you want that building? In it, how many bedrooms you want, how many dining rooms you want, okay, how many kitchen rooms you want, all those things we will design prior to the construction of that building. So in that similar way, security services are something before the development or before the construction of any security model. What you are expecting from that model, what type of services you are expecting from that model. So we are going to stay in the house, isn't it? In the building, we are going to stay. We are going to watch the TV in the living room, and we are going to go to the sleep in the bedroom. Okay, accordingly, if you want to have something, if you want to eat something, you will go to the kitchen or dining room. Likewise, based on the services only, based on the expectations only, we are constructing the building, or we are designing the house. In that same manner, whenever we are going for a security model or going for a security mechanism, what type of services you are expecting, or what type of services have been standardized, those things we have to analyze and we have to understand. So before going to that, we have to know what exactly these security services are, how we are going to define these security services. So the definition of this term, security services, is given in two different standard documents. So generally, these documents, as you can see over here, we have one document standard, that is 8 X800 X. Okay, let me just take that marker, X800 standard. Okay, we have X800 standard, and then we have RFC 4949. So these two are the document standards. So generally, what are these standards, what are these documents means? Whenever the research people, generally what these research people will do means, they will continuously work on some kind of research, some kind of inventions. So whenever they come across a new finding, or a new what we call a new research output, immediately they will document it, isn't it? Before somebody else will document it, what they will do, they will immediately after finding, they will document it, and they will have a patent on it, isn't it? So such documents, such standardized documents, yeah, here we have two such types. One is X800 and other one is RFC 4949. This RFC stands for request for comment, request for comment 4949. So according to these two documents, the first document is defining the security service as a service that is provided by a protocol layer. Definitely, whenever we are making the communication between the two different IT infrastructures, or two different computers, they are going to follow this ISO OSI model. Okay, this thing you have seen in your computer network, based on that ISO OSI network model only, OSI ISO reference model only, two computers are going to communicate. So under it we are going to have different protocols, isn't it? At protocol layer we are going to have different set of protocols. So according to that, okay, this 800 X800 defines the security service as a service that is provided by the protocol layer of communicating open systems and that ensures adequate security of the system of or the data transfer or of data transfer. So whenever the two parties are communicating, basically what they do when they communicate means they will do the data transfer only. Okay, when they do the data transfer, then only we say a communication has been established and a communication is been going on. Otherwise, without data transmission, there is no mean that a connection is required between the two open systems. Okay, so likewise it is going to provide the security. Okay, the security service, it has to provide the security to the open systems when they are under communication and when they are under data transfer. Okay, according to RFC 4949, it is a processing or communication service that is provided by a system to a given to give a specific kind of protection to the system resources. Yeah, here also, yeah, with I mean with minute change, they have given a different generalized definition, we can say. In the previous definition they have gone more specific to the IT infrastructure, but over here they have generalized the definition and they are saying that it is not only to the communication parties but any processing or any communication service that is provided by a system to give a specific kind of protection. So this is called as security service. Okay, so after these two definitions, yeah, yeah, the categories, if you see under this, yeah, this RFC 4949 we rarely discuss, or we can say we are not going to see any further under this RFC for 4949 because this standard it is not there in your syllabus. Yeah, what we study, whatever we are going to study and whatever we are going to see, all those things comes under X800 document only. So quickly, so X800 it divides the services into 5 categories and 14 specific services. Yeah, what it is doing, it is dividing the services into 5 categories and 14 specific services. The 5 categories, as you can see over here: authentication, access control, data confidentiality, data integrity, and non-repudiation. So these 5 categories, they are further divided into 14 specific services. So one by one we will discuss and we will see what these 5 categories will say. So quickly, if you see the elaboration of these 5 categories into specific services, here it is something like this. So if I number those 14 specific services on this slide, so this is your first, this is second, this will be the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seven. Likewise, we have this one is 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. This is 13. And finally the 14 specific services. As we don't have any further division under access control, we are considering that access control itself as a specific service. That access control itself as a specific service we are considering. But when you go to this authentication, as we have the further categorization or further specific services, we are not considering that authentication as one specific service. Rather, we are going under it, and whatever the specific consideration we are considering that specific service. Okay, so peer entity authentication, it is the first one, the second one likewise. So first of all, before going to that, we have to know what is authentication. So it is very simple. Whenever you are under communication or whenever you are under data transmission, both the parties, either the sender or the receiver, they need to be authentic. Authentic in the sense, suppose let us say I'm sending you one message. Okay, I'm sending you one message and I'm posting that message in your group, okay, from some unknown number. Okay, from some unknown number I am posting a message, hi. So is that message authentic? No. Even though myself, I am as a faculty, I am posting that message under the official group. Unless you have the authentication, that message will not become authentication. What gives the authentication over there? In the sense, my mobile number will give the authentication. If I send you that same message from my mobile number, then you will understand that sir has sent some message in the group. So in that sense, every party in the communication needs to be authentic in the sense they have to give the identity what they are claiming. Okay, what they are claiming. Suppose if I am claiming that I am a faculty working in ISL Engineering College, then I have to show the identity. I have to show my ID card so that a person will understand that whatever I am claiming, that is authentic. Whatever I am claiming, that is authentic. So authentication, how it is helpful, in the sense it is helpful in analyzing a third party. Yeah, in analyzing a third party what he is claiming. Simply what he is claiming. If I am claiming that I works in ISL Engineering College, then I have to show the authentication. I have to show my identity card. Then only the parties, I mean the persons will understand that whatever I am claiming, that is genuine, that is authentic. So in that way, authentication is helpful. And this authentication, it is of two types: data origin and peer entity authentication. Definitely, whenever we are establishing a connection between the two parties, we are going to have two peers. Okay, the destination peer and the source peer. So over here, peer entity authentication, in the sense both the peers, okay, the sender as well as the receiver, they have to provide their authenticity in the communication process. And data origin authentication, it is in a connectionless. Generally, the connection, it is of two types. The peers where we come across means in a circuit, in a connection oriented communication. We are going to have the peers in connection oriented communication. In connection less communication, what will happen? Generally, one entity will send the packet into the network, and after sending the packet into the network, there is no guarantee that the sending party will remain in the network until and unless the packet is reaching the destination. Until and unless the packet is reaching the destination, there is no guarantee, isn't it? But in peer type of communication, there is a guarantee that until and unless the data is reaching the destination, the source has to be in the network. The source has to be in the network. That is the difference between peers and connection oriented and connection less transmission. So over here, peer entity authentication we have already seen, and then data origin authentication, it is something related to connection less communication, where the source, what he will do, he will just push that message into the network and he will go offline. So afterwards, after pushing that message and before reaching the destination, who is responsible for that message into the network means the data origin party. The data origin, whoever is generating that message into the network, he only responsible for that packet into the network. That means he has to give the full identity. Okay, after pushing the packet, with that packet he has to give his full identity so that the packet will reach the destination. Okay, even though he's not going to present in the communication network, but he has to give his full identity so that whenever it is required, because generally the packet will cross so many routers, and before reaching the destination, at each router the packet is going to be analyzed. So when it is analyzing, and if the sender is not present in the network, how come that packet is going to be authenticated? Means the sender, what he will do, the data origin party, what he will do means he will put some information which is helpful in authenticating the data origin. In that way, after pushing the message into the network and before reaching to the destination, the data origin authentication is being done. So the third type of uh, specific the third type of what we say specific service is access control. Okay, so whatever uh, resources we have, whatever services we have, generally we have to give authorization only to the authorized parties. So that is nothing but the access control. So access control in the sense, in our open world, we are going to have, whenever you have some security mechanism, we are going to have two parties, two types of parties. One are authorized parties and the other one is unauthorized parties. So according to this access control, we have to give the access only to the authorized parties, and we have to deny the service or deny the access to the unauthorized parties. So that is what access control. And then data confidentiality we have, it is also same thing. Yeah, we are providing a kind of protection to our data, a kind of confidentiality to our data from our unauthorized parties. Okay, so we are securing or we are protecting our data from unauthorized access, unauthorized disclosure, we can say. So here, confidentiality, data confidentiality, it is further divided into four types: connection confidentiality, connection less confidentiality, selective field confidentiality, and traffic flow confidentiality. Okay, so connection confidentiality is the protection of the user data on a connection. If you have a full-fledged connection, we have to provide the protection to the data on a connection. That is connection confidentiality. Connection less, already I told you, there are two types of communications: connection oriented and connection less. So in connection less also we have to provide the data confidentiality. Okay, selective field means in that complete message or in that complete data, it is not mandatory that we have to protect the entire data. In some situations, we come across situations where we have to protect only some field in the entire data. So providing the security to that specific field is nothing but specific field confidentiality. Okay, and then traffic flow confidentiality is very simple to understand: the protection of the information that might be derived from observation of traffic flow. So yeah, by using the rival countries example, already I told you this traffic flow, how it is helpful to the third party in understanding that a positive communication is going on between the two parties. So by simply analyzing the traffic flow, the enemy will gain the advantage, isn't it? The enemy will gain the advantage. So as far as this traffic flow confidentiality is concerned, yeah, we have to take certain measures. With that measures, we have to provide a kind of confidentiality on the traffic flow itself. So generally, what does it means, let us assume that a person, a third party, is continuously uh, monitoring your conversation with your friend. He's not retrieving any messages, simply he's monitoring. He's doing the traffic analysis between you and your friend. So with that analysis, what he will gain that some important information you people are sharing, some important information you people are sharing. So you have to make the communication in such a way that the third party should not gain any kind of traffic analysis either. He should not gain any kind of traffic analysis either. So next is the data integrity. Already I told you what does it mean, data integrity, in the sense integrity of the data which is under transmission. So no field, no single character has to be changed in the data whatever you are transmitting from source to destination. When you are sending some data, so data integrity will give the guarantee that whatever data, whatever message you are sending from source to destination, the both the parties will have the same message. So here we have the source and here we have the destination. So integrity in the sense, so let us say source is sending hello, how are you? This message the source is sending towards the destination. So data integrity will give the guarantee that whatever message the source is sending, the destination will receive that same message without any change in the message, without any change in the message. So here he sent hello, how are you? So the destination will also gain that same message, hello, how are you, without a single character change or without a single bit change. So this form of communication, this form of service, okay, we call it as data integrity. We call it as data integrity. So this data integrity, again, it is divided into five specific services, five more specific services. Connection integrity with recovery. If there is any change or if there is any data lost between the communication, okay, between the communication over a connection, then the mechanism has to give a service, a data integrity service with recovery. In the sense, if there is any data lost, the source or the destination, he can recover the message from the communication. So connection integrity without recovery means there is no guarantee that we can recover the message. Selective field connection integrity, so not to the entire message but to a selective field we can give the integrity, I mean integrity, that's it. So connection less, if it is a datagram network, if it is a connection less network, so there also we are expecting the integrity. So whatever message the source is pushing into the network, the same message the receiver has to receive. That is connection less integrity. Then under connection less integrity, yeah, we have to provide selective field integrity as well. Selective field in the sense, not to the entire message but to a selective field we are providing the integrity. That is nothing but selective field integrity. Okay, so then we have the non repudiation. Yeah, non repudiation. Yeah, it is non repudiation in the sense, yeah, whatever message you are receiving from the source, yeah, whatever authentication you are gaining from the source, yeah, it has to be the genuine one, it has to be the authentic one. So yeah, this non repudiation, it provides protection against denial by one of the entities involved in the communication of have or having participation in all or part of the communication. So it is basically, it is providing a kind of protection from unauthorized access, we can say, unauthorized access to the network, we can say. So non-repudiation at the origin level, non-repudiation at the destination level, at both the ends we need this type of specific service. So then we have the security mechanisms. So this is something like, already I told you now, whatever findings they are doing, they are simply keeping, they are simply documenting under this 8 x800. So this is these are the security services, how they have documented under this x800 documentation. So as you can see, authentication is there, access control, data confidentiality is there, integrity is there, and at the end we have non-repudiation as well. So security mechanisms, yeah, they are further divided into two categories. Security mechanisms, one is protocol specific, protocol layer specific, and the second one is not specific to any protocol layer. Okay, so there are two different types of security mechanisms. One is specific, as you can see over here, specific to a protocol layer. Okay, my marker is giving continuous issues, let me just find out. Okay, here specific protocol layer, specific to protocol layer, and not specific to any protocol layer. Our security mechanisms, they are of two types. One is specific to a protocol layer and the second one is not specific to any protocol layer. Okay, so uh, yeah, X800, it distinguishes between reversible encipherments mechanisms and irreversible encipherment mechanisms. Reversible, irreversible encipherments. The definition is very simple. In reversible encipherment mechanism is an encryption algorithm that allows the data to be encrypted as well as decrypted subsequently. Irreversible in the sense includes hash algorithms and message authentication codes which are used in digital signatures and message authentication applications. Okay, so generally what will we do in the process of encipherment and what is reversible and what is irreversible encipherments, so that we discuss. So process of encryption already I have explained you many times in my previous classes. So we'll be having the plain text, and from this plain text what we are doing, we are performing, yeah, we'll add the key. Yeah, very soon we'll go into deep what is this key. Okay, and then what we do, we generate ciphertext. Ciphertext. So this is how we do, yeah, with the help of encryption. So this concept, this entire concept, converting this plain text into ciphertext, we are calling it as encipherment. Encipherment. Encipherment means generating the ciphertext from the plain text is nothing but encipherment. Encipherment. Next is what is reversible encipherment and what is irreversible encipherment, that we have to understand. Reversible and irreversible. Irreversible, these two things we have to understand. Reversible encipherment, it is very easy. Yani from the ciphertext you can also, by performing the decryption, by performing decryption on the ciphertext, you can get the plain text in back. You can get the plain plain text in back. That is reversible encipherment. In irreversible encipherment, it is exactly opposite to your reversible encipherment, where it is highly difficult to gain the plain text back from the ciphertext by performing any type of operation. By performing any type of operation. So we will go into deep what is this hash function and what is this message authentication code and how they are examples of irreversible encipherment. All those things we will see. Okay, so security mechanisms, as you can see, protocol specific security mechanisms, and not specific to any protocol. That is nothing but pervasive security mechanisms. Okay, so as you can see over here, encipherment, it is specific to protocol, and digital signature, it is also specific to protocol. And trusted functionality as well as event detection, these two are yeah, we have further, we have so access control, data integrity, authentication exchange, traffic padding, okay, routing control, okay, then notarization, all these comes under protocol specific security mechanisms. And these things, trusted functionality, event detection, and security audit trail and security recovery, these things will come under security mechanism which are not specific to any protocol layer. Clear? So encipherment, already I have given the clarity. So as you can see, this first statement, it will give you the idea that these mechanisms, they are specific to the protocol layer in ISO-OSI security model. Okay, they are appropriate to protocol layer in ISO-OSI reference model. These mechanisms, they are not specific to any particular ISO-OSI security service or protocol layer, as you can see. So these are specific to the protocol layer, and these are not specific to the protocol layer of your ISO-OSI reference model. So encipherment, simply already I have given the complete information of what does this encipherment means. So simply converting the plain text by adding the key to it into ciphertext is nothing but encipherment. Okay, digital signature, yeah, it is a form, it is a kind of what we call authenticity we are giving in digital world. So in our physical world, what we are doing, whenever you have a document, in order to authenticate the document, you are keeping your initial, your signature on that document to make that document as an authentic, isn't it, as an authentic. So digital signature is something in terms of what we call uh, in terms of IT infrastructure or into the digital world, how we are going to put our signature and how we are going to make the documents authentic, all those things comes under this digital signature. Generally these are nothing but it's a process, it is something like a process of encrypting the data. It is something like process of encrypting the data, and without the key you cannot get the actual data from that encrypted from that ciphertext. So, in detail, how this digital signature will work, it will take an entire class if I start explaining that one. So, definitely, very soon we are going to have a complete discussion on this digital signature. And then we have access control. Yeah, simply in your security services also have explained the access control is something providing the access based on the person's identity, based on the person's authenticity. If he is an unauthorized person, simply we have to deny. If he is an authorized person, we have to allow. Okay, integrity, data integrity, I have explained, and authentication exchange. So whenever you are, this is something like power of giving the power of attorney to a third party. Okay, so generally what will happen in big organizations, in big companies, the CEOs will act, isn't it? The chairman, they don't play any role in the board discussions, isn't it? They don't play any role in board discussions. They will act like passively, and the CEOs, chief executive officers, they are going to have the complete authority. And who gave that authority to them means the chairman itself gave the authority to them. And here what is generally I want to explain is the transfer of powers. The transfer of powers from one person to other person, it should happen in an authentic manner. Okay, why everybody in the organization is treating the CEO as CEO means because the chairman appointed that CEO officially, authentically. Okay, authentically he appointed, the chairman itself appointed the CEO for that organization. That is the reason why everybody in the organization is going to obey the rules and regulations given by the CEO. So in that way, the chairman has transferred the complete powers to the CEO. So okay, next traffic padding. So generally what we do in order to confuse the third party or in order to confuse the intruder in between, we put unnecessary traffic into our actual traffic. So that kind of because already I told you, simply by analyzing the traffic also, people are gaining the advantage of your transmission, people are gaining the advantage from your transmission, we can say. So in order to avoid such a thing, what we do means we regularly send unwanted messages. Even if we don't want anything in our communication, we simply send some useless messages, so that when it requires us to put some valuable data, some confidential data, that also will send in that way only, that also we send in that way only. So a third party who is doing the traffic analysis, he will not gain anything from that traffic analysis. So insertion of unnecessary bits or unwanted bits in the gaps is nothing but traffic padding, we can say. Okay, so next we have routing control and notarization. So yeah, routing control means generally whenever we are doing some kind of transmission between the parties, we need up, because in open world there can be number of routes, isn't it? There can be number of routes between the parties. So selecting the best route or selecting the secured route, that comes under routing control. Uh, the notarization, in the sense, sometimes what we do, we depend on a third party in order to do the data transmission. Whatever data you want to transmit to your second party, we have to depend on a third party. So like how we are in today's world, how we are dependent on this Facebook and WhatsApp, that is nothing but notarization only. We are blindly believing that our messages are completely secured, and whatever transmission we are doing over the channel, it is completely confidential. The confidential means only the authorized parties will see that message. The message will get disclosed only to the authorized parties. Okay, how far it is happening in real world, genuinely we don't know. But we are blindly believing that WhatsApp is providing, Facebook is providing such a mechanism to us where we can transmit our information, our data to our trusted parties without its disclosure to any untrusted party. Clear? So that is notarization. So next we have pervasive security mechanisms or non-specific protocol layer security mechanisms, we can say. Trusted functionality, okay, which is perceived to be correct with respect to some criteria. Okay, then we have event detection of security related events. Okay, then security audit trail, data collected and potentially used to facilitate a security audit. Security recovery deals with requests from mechanisms such as event handling and management functions and takes recovery action. See, these security mechanisms, whatever we discussed in today's class, once again we are going to elaborate, because uh, concept wise they have summarized all these things with minute messages or minute description under one single page or under one single topic. But if you go into detail, so this data integrity, how we are going to provide the data integrity, it is a complete vast concept. Okay, so generally that we are going to do in our upcoming classes. We are going to study in detail about this data integrity, about this authentication, about this access control. All these things will go, we will go step by step. Okay, so hopefully and there is one more last graphical representation we have, where it is clearly represented what type of security mechanism is providing what type of security service. So over here you can see what type of security mechanism. Here they have listed all the security mechanisms on top. They have listed all the security mechanisms in this direction, as you can see here. In this direction we have all the security mechanisms, and in this direction we have all the security services. Whatever security services we studied in today's class, they have listed over here. So right now, this encipherment, using this encipherment mechanism, if you apply this encipherment mechanism in your security model, what type of security services you will get? You will gain peer entity authentication. Yes, I will gain. Do you get data origin authentication? Yes, I will get. Access control, do I get access control if I apply the encipherment mechanism? No, I will not gain. Likewise, what type of security mechanisms will provide what type of services, they have shown in this tabular form, in this matrix form, I can say. In this matrix form they have shown clearly. Hopefully you will get something from this one. So yeah, in our next class we'll be focusing on a sample network security model, how it will be designed and how it will be operate and how it will provide the services whatever we are expecting from it. Okay, so till that time, stay safe. Thank you very much.